Hi friends, thank you for tuning in to the Concussion Coach podcast. I'm Bethany Lewis, the Concussion Coach. I'm a neurological occupational therapist and certified life coach, and I specialize in guiding people through their concussion recovery journey. I am passionate about helping people understand their injury, speed up their recovery, and reclaim control over their life post-concussion. The purpose of this podcast is to help increase awareness of concussions and the impact they can have on a person's life, and to bring hope to people who have suffered a concussion and those who love them. I firmly believe that sharing stories and knowledge about concussions will bring important light and understanding to this misunderstood and often invisible injury. The information in this podcast is meant to bring that awareness and hope and is not meant as medical advice. The opinions shared are those of the interviewees and my own. If you are suffering with lingering concussion symptoms, I have created a concussion coaching program specifically for you. I will be your mentor to guide you through your recovery journey, offering help with understanding and managing your symptoms, setting achievable goals, and learning how to manage your own thoughts and nervous system in order to get control over your life again. If this program sounds like something that would help you or someone you love, sign up for a free consultation. In the consultation, you'll get valuable information and resources and gain hope for your future. Sign up for your free consultation at the link in the show notes or at my website, www.theconcussioncoach.com. Hi friends, welcome back to the Concussion Coach podcast. Before I introduce my guest today, I just wanted to make sure that you all know about the free guide that is available on my website. It is the 5 best ways to support your loved one dealing with a concussion. If you have a friend or a family member who's struggling with post-concussion symptoms, or if you're the one struggling and would like your loved ones to know more about what you're going through and how they can help, head over to my website, www.theconcussioncoach.com, and download the free guide. I'm really excited for this conversation that I'm about to have. Oh my gosh, I don't even know your last name. Miller. It says Miller on your thing. Okay. And I am honestly not sure how to pronounce your first name. Can you help me out here?
Absolutely. First, I'm going to give the 5 to 10 seconds for anyone watching if they want to take a guess, because I like playing that game. But my name is pronounced Gilad, and you can also call me Gil or G or Dude or whatever you want.
Perfect. Thanks for making it easy for me. Okay. So thank you. So I'm going with G. I can do that. G. I were introduced by a mutual friend. So thank you, Chandani, for introducing us. And we've met and we've chatted a few times. And the first time we met, I told him, I really like your energy. You've got a really good vibe. And I don't usually say that to people. So
Thanks,
I appreciate your willingness to be here, your openness, and I'm just really excited for this conversation. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm equally excited, I think.
Let's go. Maybe. I don't know. I'm pretty excited. So
my argument is maybe I am more. Exactly.
All right. Well, why don't we let you, if you want to give us a little bit of like a little bio, like tell us a little bit who you are, where you're from, and then we'll jump into your story.
Sounds great. So my name is Gilad. And again, thank you for having me. I'm from Toronto, Canada, born to South African parents, got a whole mixed background, and have always been around many cultures. So in my home, different languages and different ideas, but Toronto, Canada, and I split my time mainly between Toronto and Vancouver.
Awesome. Excellent. So tell us about your injury. Let's start there, because I think that was the beginning of your journey into what you're doing now, if that's right.
It is quite interesting. It was actually, I have to argue, probably the midpoint, but the biggest turnaround point.
Okay, so, well, start wherever you want to start then. You tell us. Go
when ahead. I was about 17 years old, I think I may have been 16, I got my personal training license. And so I very quickly fell into the rehabilitation space, obviously in, smaller boutique gyms. And through that experience was quite motivated, especially having a physiotherapist as a mother, to learn more about the body. I was playing rugby and skateboarding every single day, but rugby at a high level, so my body was real sore. And I just went down the path of rehabilitation and helping people feel like themselves again after some nasty physical injuries, learning how to sit again, lay down, and get up, to be really simple. But in 2021, nearly 5 years ago, this May, I was skateboarding down a hill in Vancouver, and I don't remember anything after that point. I woke up, and the only memory I have is this flash in hospital, where I was for 24 hours because I had suffered 4 different internal brain bleeds. So I had a moderate to severe traumatic brain injury falling off my skateboard. I was seizing on the ground and bleeding out. So
Oh
a
my
pretty
gosh.
hectic injury and quite gory. And it's, I think, viewing. I feel bad for my friends who had to witness, but I was, my nervous system did its thing and it helped me get through it. I didn't have to remember every moment. And from that point, I realized, wow, beyond the physical injury, there's so much emotional and, of course, cognitive and psychological challenge that we face in trauma. And it was from that point that Good Mood Method really became what I guess it was always supposed to be.
Okay, so prior to this, what were you doing for work? Were you still a personal trainer? Like, how are you?
Yeah, so I was helping people recover from scoliosis and neuropathy and other physical challenges in their nervous system. For the most part, I was just working private, one-on-one, going to do pretty much at-home care and also online, of course, but mainly at-home care and just working for myself, helping people recover from different crazy physical injuries.
Interesting. And did you have specific like a protocol that you were using or training that you'd gotten that helped you know how to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, many different privatized personal training courses over, my initial 5 years. But then I came into foundation training, which we're going to talk tons about today. Foundation training is a movement practice, body weight movement practice that's all about intention and integration. It's all about giving your body the conditions that it needs to recover more efficiently. It's movement, which is really the basis of brain function.
It really is. It is crazy. Like we think that, and it does, like we think the brain is controlling our movements, but really the way that we move also influences our brain. So it's
Yeah, everything's
fascinating.
bi-directional, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
we're gonna get into this stuff, sensory motor system and how that influences autonomic nervous system. Yeah.
Beautiful. Can't wait. Okay. But we have to wait because I
We
have other
have, but we
questions.
gotta wait.
We
Take
gotta
your
wait.
time.
So tell me when you were when you had the injury here, you were in the hospital for 24 hours. And what was it like after that? How was your recovery? What were you
Cheers.
symptoms did you have? All of that.
Absolutely. So hospital for 24 hours. And yeah, I just remember I told you one flash of being in there. They discharged me by myself, and I have no idea how I got home.
What?
Not a clue. This is part of some of the medical challenge in treating TBI. And I work sometimes in private outreach for, people in less fortunate situations living on the streets, even if sometimes that's by choice. And I imagine some of these individuals without the social resources that I had and have, and I'm very lucky to have, going through a TBI and being discharged by themselves. Because after my injury, to answer your question, I woke up in my bed, and the first thing I saw when I opened my eyes, and I've never told anyone this before actually, but was my parents. And they've been divorced since I was a little kid. And they were both standing over me, and it was real. And I felt the most drunk I've ever felt in my entire life in that moment to explain what waking up was like. But
Mm,
they were there, and something of that presence obviously helped me know I was okay.
mm.
And
That's
so,
beautiful.
right, so we're going to talk about social connection, but what safety means in recovery and how it is a precursor to all different kinds of trauma recovery, but of course TBI, which I'm treating full time very
Mm.
effectively. So the experience after my hospital stint was like a hallucination. The first week, I would say, I couldn't really like see that well, and I was definitely not walking. I was bedridden, and I was being cared for full time. And it was challenging because I couldn't sleep for actually the first, I'd say, 2 months, maybe 6 weeks. I'll look at my notes. I wrote it down at the time. It's crazy. I have a whole TBI journal from that time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I couldn't sleep for more than 30 minutes at a time. And so my body was in overdrive. It was trying to protect me from any potential further harm. That's how the body learns from past experience, right?
Hmm.
And ultimately, I was having crazy nightmares all the time of loud noises, sensory overloads. And the craziest part, 2 months after my brain injury, was that I was walking through a door frame just into another room. And as I arrived in the door frame, my head would just swell up, even though obviously it was the same size. It felt as if it was ballooning and growing. And when I was in that door frame, that's when I stopped and I was like, what the heck is going on in my body that it makes it do this just because the walls feel a little bit closer, because they are a little bit closer. Crossing the street, I'm looking like 30 times after when I'm trying to walk a few months after my TBI, but I'll tell you more about that.
Oh my gosh. That is, yeah, thank you for sharing all of this. I think it's so, it will be eye-opening for people. And yeah, that is the door frame thing is really interesting, that your body sensed that closer space, and yeah, the way that you interpreted it is just really, really interesting. But you did have full-time like care for the first week or more, and then
for the first 2 to 3 weeks, because of the severity of this injury, I was knocked out for a few minutes. So that's how it gets classified to moderate to severe, even though that is actually changing as well. And always happy to talk to people about diagnoses and these like titles and labels. They're crucial, but they're not everything. And yeah, so I wasn't sleeping, but I had the full-time care, and that was very supportive from my mother, who's a physio and also an aromatherapist today. So she was, doing lots of guinea pig testing on me. And of course, I just have a great relationship with my mother. And so it was so supportive for me to know that she was just there. That was enough for me to know that I was okay. But, dizziness, like 100, anger, 100. Then over time, I'd say the most common thing that I experienced with my TBI was actually my first bouts with depression. I would say that that's what it was, because the body was working so hard in this anxious state, trying to protect it from the walls coming in, from the cars driving on the street, from anything. That it gets so tired, and it says we haven't found our safety, we haven't found our recovery yet, which is not my fault and no one's fault who's in that place. So it pulls us into that place where we self-preserve our energy, and that's what depression can be sometimes too.
My gosh, I feel like everything you're saying, we could go down and like talk about each one for like
for
the
sure.
day. This is so you're just bringing up so many really important things. But what you had worked with people prior to this who had been going through challenging physical experiences, right? And helping heal. What about this experience as you were experiencing it for yourself? What was surprising to you?
Yeah, you transitioned that one really well, because, and then I think I set it up. We're working well together. It was from the experience of falling into depression after months of being in that angry and anxious kind of state as just my dominant emotional experience. It was when I fell into that depression, which was months after, when my body was exhausted from trying to recover, that I realized, oh, this is what so many physical traumas have to experience and go through. And I've spoken to professional athletes and worked with pro athletes during their rehab phases of obviously, being ejected from their sport, and that alienation from the purpose, and unique to each one of us, that alienation from my own body and my own internal dialogue, I think is what makes us so challenged, and what motivated me so much to be like, I need to support. I've been there. I know what it feels like. And doctors told me I was fine, but I didn't feel fine at all.
Yeah. Well, okay. Doctors told you were fine. At what point was that? Like, because obviously you were not fine for, like, people could have seen that for the first little while.
Yes.
At what point at what point did it become an invisible injury? Like, were you looking like you were okay, but you knew you weren't?
You got it. And everyone who's had a TBI knows it. So let me please preface this by saying I work with incredible medical health professionals, and they are absolutely invaluable along the entire recovery journey. I will never, ever put anyone down. We are all about enhancing and picking every single form of care up and helping people wherever they need it most. So I love the medical system. I love my functional neurologists and the psychologists who I share clients with. But when I was going through the classical TBI recovery experience in a clinic, speaking to a neuropsychologist, which can be typical, they both looked at the paper when I was like looking at them, and they're like, oh yeah, everything's fine. Like everything's fine. They're measuring stuff, and that's great. But the only thing that they cannot measure is what you are feeling inside of your body, your mood, your attitude, your belief, your sense of self, and your purpose. And so medically fine is crucial. And I was appreciative and honestly a tiny bit excited that they're like, yeah, you're fine. But they were looking at the page and not at the person. And I just realized, you know, I've already been looking at the people. I've always wanted to just be eye level with the people on the ground, doing the work, going through the weeds. It's not an in and out thing. And that's, I guess, you know, where I found the motivation to commit my full-time effort towards my good mood method.
I love it so much. So how long, yeah, I'm curious for you what the timeline was. Like when were you, well, I'd also be interested in knowing what therapies you did, what things
Yeah,
were helpful
sure.
in getting you kind of back up on
We
your
can
feet.
go back and forth. It's totally
Okay.
cool. I think recovery is kind of like that, no?
It is, right? So yeah, so how long was it before you were like having that conversation with the doctor, looking at their paper, saying, yeah, you're good?
The neuropsychologist, and I'll never name anyone, but was 3 weeks after my initial trauma.
Okay. Okay, 3
So
weeks after.
so I asked her, I said, if you could have actually seen my diagnoses and my experience in the hospital, you know, what my body was going through, but you didn't see the cause, the skateboarding fall is the cause for this experience. I asked her, what would you put in to the form? And what would you say the reason for this accident was? What happened to this individual? I wanted to understand it from that outside in kind of place, as I do with all of my daily care for my people. And she's like, are you sure you want me to answer that question? And I was like, absolutely, that excites me. So she's like pretty much described a pretty horrific car accident and me being ejected from the car and landing on the road head first. But yet she was telling me that I was fine. And I was like, okay, well, I'm glad that I sound that way too. That's all I said. And I hung up the phone and I moved on and went back to, I guess, like the circles and communities that, you know, made me feel heard and seen.
Yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
and I had these communities. I was working in breath work. I was working in all different kinds of, you know, kind of well-being, wellness stuff before. And this is like, that was the first one. And then the other one was the concussion clinic. About 3 months later, I would say. And they also told me the same because my physical body, which comes from I think a highly athletic background, martial arts and rugby, as I explained, skateboarding, surfing, whatever, you know, my body was performing. My body was performing on the switchboard, on the color testing, on sensory things, on balance, on running, on cardio things. They're crucial parts. And I think they're amazing tools, but you know, every body is different. And that's why fine here is not always fine here.
Yes. 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 And for those listening, fine here, meaning looking at a piece of paper,
Yes.
not necessarily fine here, pointing to your chest. So that is, I think that's such a really profound point. And also like amazing, like the fact that professionals who work with people who have brain injuries all the time are looking and seeing like, you know, the things that you can do. That is significant. Like that's pretty amazing coming like especially 3 weeks later. That seems miraculous, to be honest.
It was miraculous, and I will say that my recovery was miraculous, you know, and I think every recovery is miraculous, deserved and miraculous. But my brain it stabilized itself. 4 different internal bleeds, a neck fracture at C4 to 6. It stabilized itself so they could release me. And the doctors like asked after the fact, they're like, what do you do? And how do you take care of your body? And what are these things? They can't take care of that world, unfortunately. It would be wonderful if they could. But the taking care of like the world and TBI, it requires the world. It requires everyone that we're interacting with, both medically and non-medical. So medical is one space, and they do some of the hardest work, obviously, taking care of things in that acute setting. But ultimately, like life goes on, and injuries and trauma lasts, right?
And they can get eternalized.
That's how we define trauma. It's not the event itself that is the trauma. It is the ongoing experience of your body referencing or resourcing itself from that event.
Yes, so well said. So well said. And so yeah, please tell us the things that were helpful for you. It sounds like the things that were helpful for you in this process and maybe how you've used them, how you've, yeah, created. I would love to hear about the good mood method as well, but
Yeah, how it kind of developed into its own. It definitely, good mood method definitely, comes from, I guess, initially my lifestyle, but it was through my discovery of what was working to recover from TBI, to feel like myself again. And even before my TBI, as I think the listeners and you are now aware of, I was teaching movement, and I've always been in movement and always been in my body, is how I like to say it. I'm a feeler for sure, sensitive even before TBI. But the point, but the point is, actually, that's a good point. I want people to think about that for a sec, if I can. Think about if you were sensitive before TBI, because sensitivity, it gets us. It gets us sensitive people. Yeah.
yeah, actually, I want to touch on
Yeah.
that for a second, because being in your body and already being sensitive, like so many things are like opposites, but I see it, and I'm curious to hear your experience of this. Were you more sensitive? It sounds like in some ways, definitely more sensitive. You felt more in your body, but also people talk about feeling dissociated and like not as connected to their body. What was that like for you?
No, absolutely. So I'll put the two questions together, but like how I found like these, what was working for TBI recovery, and what was that experience of being connected and disconnected from my body. It's one and the same answer, to be quite frank. The movement is what helped me feel connected. Foundation training and my expansion actually of foundation training, which I'm working alongside them right now to kind of develop foundation training for trauma, which is a
Awesome.
much more explorative approach, less performance based, if you will.
Mm.
And so, as I explained earlier, the anxiety was high for the first few months, and it still continued after. But when my body got so tired from being anxious all the time, I learned it pulled me into that dissociative response of depression and hopelessness, where it was very hard for me to get my body off the bed sometimes, because it was pretty much saying back to me, like, for what? For what? What are
Right.
we going to? And so every time I came back to my body, and I'll tell you a couple of stories of when my body really spoke to me. And it doesn't have to happen for you to feel like yourself or for you to recover. But some of us have that internal dialogue. It's not better or worse. It's just different. And every time I came back to my body for movement, for foundation training, but in this kind of trauma form, I realized the more I feel my own body, the more I feel like myself.
Mhm.
The more I'm able to feel the soles of my feet to the crown of my head all at once, my breath moving in between there. I was like, okay, I'm here. And I was realizing as I was moving my body with foundation training that my nervous system was learning to resource from the present rather than the past. That's what happens when you bring your body biological conditions of safety. Your body goes, that allows me to work so much more energy efficiently. And it can't ignore that. It's so attractive for your biology. It's like
Yeah.
all the time. And for the listeners, I'm just fingers on the lips, they can imagine, and the eyes just looking out the corner of your eye, just, oh, wow. And so we keep bringing that to the body in a capacity in which it can tolerate.
Mm.
Too much can send it into that dissociative place. It says, I can't handle all that information. The last time I had to handle all information, good, bad, doesn't matter. I know what happens. I know what's happening. It's bad. So we teach the little body that it's safe to receive goodness again. And over time, its stability allows it to expand and receive more.
Oh my gosh. Amen. That was so beautifully said. Really love everything you just said. And that it is so amazing how our bodies are incredible. Our bodies and our brains, they are so cool. But yes, that's exactly right. It's such, again, there's such like this dichotomy of like too much, too little. Like we got to find that sweet spot where it's like,
Yeah.
we want to find that just right amount of pushing, but also like you want to be safe, but you want to be expanding, right? Like
Yes, it's both at the same time. No, you're speaking absolutely. I think what you're speaking to right now, Bethany, is truly at the foundation of what we're all frustrated with when we're recovering from TBI, even ABI, but yes, TBI. It's truly that we don't know how much, we don't know how little. The biology has a push. It's got a big push, and it thinks it knows what it needs based on what it has experienced. But then there's you, the intangible part that has a pull towards, I think, the future and goodness and wonderful days and good connections, which that biology's push doesn't always allow us to arrive at. So there is this tug of war between what I just call, you can call it anything you want, yourself, you can call it your spirit, you can call it your soul, anything, whatever language you speak with is right. There's that spiritual pull where it's like, come good to the good future. And there's a present and past biological push that is saying, let's just deal with it like this. I don't trust that that's there for me because I haven't been responded to yet. I'm saying, I'll try and wrap it a little bit cleaner for you, but I'm saying that there's always a tug of war between this part of you that is unaffected by the injury, that knows itself. And I know that part feels really small, but there is a part, I believe, in every single one of us that is able to stand up and take this taller stance, more powerful position towards our injury, towards what has happened. And I think we've all done it many times in our lives. This is just a new, maybe biggest instance of it, where we can say, that's not all I am. And that's how we figure out, really, how much to push and how much to pull.
Oh my gosh. I think that will resonate with people in a very significant way. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just for anybody listening who is not familiar with the term ABI, that's acquired brain injury. So TBI, traumatic brain injury, ABI, acquired brain injury. So however it happens. But yes, I think amen to that. It was just so, again, thank you for sharing. And I think it's so important for people to hear, especially in relation to the question of hope, right? Like and how do you find hope, and how do you find the will to keep going when there's times where people don't feel that, and that's really real. And I think it's important to be to speak to that as well. So if you would share how did you tune into that pull, that spiritual pull that was like, no, that I'm still there. How did that, if you can even put words to it? I don't know. You're good at words though. So
I appreciate you. But you know what? I always say when there's a feeling in our body that's big enough or strong enough or authentic enough, then there doesn't have to be words. There's just the understanding in yourself, and so not everything has to be explained, but this one I definitely can explain. How do we reach that place of hope within ourselves? How do we reach that place of self-belief? My entire argument, if it's an argument, is that it's found through the body. It's found through action. It's also found through the action of rest. But we find hope and self-belief when we restore our biology with the function in which it was designed to have. And the reason being is, I'll give this example. Imagine a toddler, a baby, crawling around on the floor. Bethany, can you do that? Are you able to imagine?
Oh, I can imagine that. Yes, I can.
Maybe that's why this example came to me. And for a long time, or you tell me, about how long do they spend just average crawling on hands, palms, and knees?
Before they start
walking, yeah.
Oh man, months, months and months.
Months and months and months. And so I asked myself, what is that baby doing? And I did learn this example through Dr. Goodman, who started foundation training, massive inspiration for me. But what is that baby doing? It's developing its posterior chain, the back half of the body that you don't see with your eyeballs, the part that you see when you look in the mirror backwards. So the back half of your body, that's what the baby's strengthening: spine and hip tilts, to be really simple, right? And head carriage, where's the head going to be? And when the back muscles, the posterior chain from brainstem to tailbone, which governs all of your nerves, right? Even though they expand out into your toe tips in many ways, really important stuff is in that torso. When the brain feels that the muscles and the fascia connective tissue are functional enough to support it, it starts to stand up, the body. the body starts to find its feet. And then you see what a young toddler, the head starts to waver around, right? The brain says, not yet, comes back down to the ground, and it keeps training. And every pull of the hand towards the knee and every knee pulling forwards is training core stability and back length and head function, head and neck function. And then the brain knows that we are safe enough to stand and go. And it's very much, to me, the same kind of experience post TBI, especially when we weren't really there for the experience. The nervous system kicked us out of that memory on purpose. It didn't want us to take all of that bad information in and just believe that's what we have to deal with. So it carries that memory in tension and dysfunction. And it says, not yet. I haven't gotten the right response or the right amount of training, which every body uniquely needs to acquire, to stand up and to explore again.
That's so cool. I love the developmental. We've talked about this actually. I've had multiple conversations recently where it's this idea of, like child development is post TBI development. Like our bodies are the same, right? They need,
but with the ability to speak to that person who's been there throughout it all, the adult, the experience, the wiser. And it's, I think, through that gentle detachment of our own body, not too far into dissociation, but detachment enough. We step out of it and look at our body as its own entity sometimes, so that we can actually provide the best care possible for it. Because we know we always give better to others than we do ourselves. We have to see this body, in my opinion, as a little kid, as your favorite animal. And I guarantee, with that belief, if you can convince yourself of it, I know that can be difficult too, you'll treat yourself with a lot more compassion.
Beautiful. And I do think that kind of speaks to this idea of like thanking the body, like being grateful for it. Like I had a girl that I spoke with who talked about how she had this mantra that she would like, I wish I could remember exactly what it was, but she would talk about how she would thank her body every day. Like, yes, it hurts. Yes, it's like, I wish that, there's the whole frustrating that it's not where I want it to be, but also thank you so much for everything you are doing. And I recognize that pain is because you're trying to help me know what needs to get better, things like that. So it's just like that, gratitude for this mechanism, this body. That's that is beautiful. Everything.
And sometimes when it's hard to find the words to describe someone else's mantra or someone else's beautiful quote or idea, even, what I say is that it left resonance of an amazing feeling within you. And just the memory, just the idea of what this person had said brought your nervous system to a place of more safety, connection, and therefore creative function and cognitive ability. That's what happens when the nervous system feels safe. Our whole brain starts to come back online because there's enough energy to actually support all of that function simultaneously, rather than just be worried about what's coming at me. So my ears are super attuned to loud noises and high and low range frequencies. But the eyes, right? Brighter lights, like, okay, now I got to turn, and the energy goes there. And so movement actually, and thanking the body I'm fully in agreement with that. That comes back into that self-awareness, the slight separation and detachment from the body to provide it constant compassionate care. And ultimately, this is how we help the nervous system catch up to the present, get unstuck from the past, and of course kind of propel us in a sustainable function towards like a future that's meaningful to us. And so you said something really interesting, and if I can carry it, but let me know. You said sometimes we have that feeling that this body just isn't doing what I want it to do. Like it's just not functioning the way that I want it to function. And what I want to just suggest to the listeners is that when your body presents that to you, it says, we don't do that. We can't do that. This is too much. What I want you to see is that your body is trying to redirect you towards it's pretty much asking you to redirect yourself and your body towards a safer response. And that may mean reeling it in for a second so that you can expand and work for the next hour. You don't know how long that 5 to 10 to 1 minute response can actually support your nervous system in meeting the present moment. But my whole point is that when we feel bored, when we feel angry, when we feel upset, I think that our nervous system knows that we're just not actually connecting with the things that are providing us with that deep meaning, with the actual healing property that the body needs. And it's not to say it's 100% wrong. That's not why we get angry, because we're doing something wrong. But we get angry because the body says we can have a little bit better. And we prefer to receive it in this way. And if you just take that moment to meet your boredom as an invitation towards activity and not get stuck in the inactivity that the boredom comes from anyway, then your nervous system starts to learn, wow, this person, like Gilad, is listening to me. That's how I like to think of it, is listening to me, and it really is. And then we kind of regain that mind and body relationship rather than just force the body to work here and then hope it just recovers there. It's like we're actually in relation with our body and listening to its opinion about things.
I feel like that is got to be really, it's probably partly intuitive, but also like it's not going to be intuitive to a lot of people.
Both. No, this
well,
I just wrote this yesterday. I think it's both. I think everyone has intuitive nature. Yes, everyone has their own habits. It's why you are your Bethany, right? It's why you are uniquely you, because you have your kind of intuitive way of doing things and meeting your body in life. And of course, you make your own choices. But then there's the learned part, which is what I'm teaching. And that learned part actually lends your intuition more ability. So when you bring the biological conditions we said of safety to the nervous system, to your fascia, to your entire body, then that intuition, which is part of your creative place, comes back online and you get in touch with it. And it's once you meet that place, I think that's where meaningful recovery actually, begins. So we got to take care of the body first, and then the things open up many options.
Yes, thank you for saying that. And it is, again, everything that you're saying, I was like, we could literally go down all of these different rabbit holes, but let's have you share how you do it, because like, what is the Good Mood method, and how can people try to start working on building that relationship with their body and being in tune with it instead of being so scared of it, or all of the different approaches that people can take based off of these experiences and the trauma. Like, how do you help?
Well, so how do I help? I'm going to give a few things, and I'm going to introduce the modalities as we kind of go along. But just for the listeners, the three main modalities are music, movement, and meaning. These are the 3 M's of Good Mood method, and it's the music and the movement that brings back that meaning, that meaningful place. The biological safety of the music and the movement practice, they truly help the brain reach those depths that anchor us into the future, so we can walk safely towards it as we face many unknowns, which would have been true with or without the trauma.
I want to know what the Good Mood method is. Like, what is it? How do you help people with it?
Yeah. So the Good Mood method is a nervous system therapy practice for individuals who have experienced traumatic brain injury or any other kind of trauma, physical or emotional, psychological. What I help people do is feel safe in their bodies again. And feeling safe in your body requires us to bring biological conditions of safety to the nervous system, because our nervous system, which is working 24/7 to keep you safe, to help you recover, to protect you from danger, it's absolutely exhausted after TBI, because when we experience a TBI, no matter what kind, there's a massive energy influx to your brain. And the recovery is essentially trying to restore and conserve enough energy to help the brain overload recover. And that comes through bodily effort. The brain recovers through bodily effort because our nervous system senses before we think. It feels everything before anything becomes a thought, even before it becomes an emotion or, of course, a belief. And so what I'm helping people do 100% online and from the comfort of their home is feel safe in their body again. So I provide a few different 5-hour polyvagal music listening therapies, which guide people's nervous system with the right amount of safety for them as their body is coming back from so much sensory overload. And this music program is changing the way that your inner ear muscles are tensed. And it's changing the way that your vagus nerve is activated and staying activated to assist your recovery. And it's also helping your body, when you're not thinking about it, find sounds in your environment that actually support that body to brain communication for recovery. And so we're all used to hearing those high and low range frequencies. The music program trains your body and nervous system to find the middle range frequencies that keep recovery in a continuity and continuous loop. The movement program, Trauma-Informed Foundation Training for Trauma, is the movement practice that I teach people, and we rebuild the body from the ground up. And what's so amazing about it is that, you know, so many people who haven't spent tons of time moving their bodies, maybe exercising, sure, but movement's a different exploration. They learn, oh, if I just carry my feet, my legs, my ribs, my shoulders and head in these ways, then I do feel more like myself. And that's because your body feels more like itself. And we live through this body. So when we bring enough safety through the music and movement, and the body is willing to expand more, I take people through a kind of logotherapy, which is a therapeutic process, exploration. Logotherapy was developed by Dr. Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl is one of my biggest inspirations because he said, the primary motivation for a human being, it's not pleasure, it's not power, but the primary motivation of being a human being is to discover meaning. It's to make sense of things, even when the dangers and the conditions are inescapable. We're still able to find meaning. And it is that meaning and that place that takes us to where we want to go.
Beautiful. Thank you. I was looking at your website and I saw logotherapy. It's like, I don't know what that is. So I looked it up and I was like, oh my gosh, I loved Viktor Frankl. He's the one who wrote Man's Search for Meaning, right?
Correct. And so over the past 10 years, and I've been bringing this, you know, underlying to my clients always, but now I bring it forward in a full program. And it's really been beautiful because this is what I wanted to say before. You were right. It all comes back together.
It'll come back.
One of the first questions that I ask people when they come to Good Mood Method and book a free consultation with me, which I invite anyone to do, because I'm just an extra person who wants to be in your corner if you're willing to have me. And I can give you some free nervous system considerations based on what you share of your experience. But one of the first questions I do ask people, working together or not, I ask, what does getting better mean to you? And if we just let that question, you know, settle a little bit, maybe you'll start to notice that feelings or thoughts or ideas or impulses actually arrive into your physical experience. And that question, getting better, kind of ties me back to the beginning of our conversation when, you know, when I told you that the medical kind of world told me I was fine. And so they told me I was better, essentially. And maybe I was, for sure, in certain physical capacity, but it wasn't enough. And getting better is something that I believe each individual has to define for themselves so that they can know when they are living their lives, experiencing the real moments in between appointments, if their body is indeed recovering. Only you can define that because only you can feel what is going on inside of your body. And so what does getting better mean to you? And I do believe that is the anchor that we can entrench in the future. And it creates this kind of line from that anchor in the future all the way to the present that I said we can just hold on to with our hands and walk that path. And we can feel when we're kind of deviating from what getting better means to us. Because I've been told too many times, if you just do this, then you'll be fine. And if you just do that, then you'll be fine. So when I speak of Good Mood Method, I want people to know that any movement, at the same time is suitable if it helps you feel like yourself. Just go there. But the foundation training movement for trauma is my kind of bread and butter. And this is how we feel like ourselves again, because we restore the function by design. And from that place, a ton of confidence returns, a ton of energy returns. And it just, I think, ultimately an amazing understanding of what our nervous system is, wants to do, has to receive in order for us to feel like ourselves. It comes through movement. Movement's the learning ground to know if I'm going to push a little bit more today or kind of keep it to myself. And I still use those tools today. I was using that before my TBI, my morning movement practice of 5 to 10 minutes of just feeling my body, not sweating, not exercise. It informs me of the kind of responses that my nervous system needs to move into the efforts in which I wish to take it to today. Mm-hmm. And when you have this relationship with your body, which I believe movement is a precursor of opening that up, the music does incredible things for that on a very deep, introspective level, and then the meaning making on a very kind of external, let me move towards that effort. The movement is what returns the nervous system to presence, and movement has always been used to help us recover.
Man, that is such, it's so cool to see it all, like to see how those come together. I think that like what you're saying, our physical body, we are more than just our physical body, right? Which is why they looked at a paper and said, oh, your physical body is okay. And you knew inside that you weren't. Like that's there. Absolutely. We are a whole person with that. Yeah. Though, like mind, body, soul connection, like we have all of that all needs to be tended to. And the body, you can't remove the body from that. There is,
the body's the filter. The body is the filter. Keep going. I love this.
Yeah, the body and the nervous system are the filter. Like it's taking things in, it's sensing things, and it's connecting them to past experiences and beliefs that we've held on to, and all of these things that create the current experience that we have. And it's just really important to recognize that and to know that, if you are told that, somebody out there listening, if you're told, yeah, you're fine, and you know inside that you're not fine, like trust your gut. And there are things and people out there who understand that it's more than just that. And again, not that helping with healing the body itself isn't really important. And we're so grateful for everybody who's doing all of that too. But there is more to healing and recovery than being able to walk a straight line.
which is the boulder that I think you and I both push uphill. And I think it's the boulder in which I was also stuck with in many ways during my TBI recovery. It was the idea that, like, I didn't know much about TBI at all. I didn't really know anything before. I played rugby and I suffered a few mild concussions, but that's part of the sport. That's part of the culture. So just move on with it. It wasn't until the moderate to severe TBI that I said, this is crazy, like on a level that you cannot describe in words. So it's exactly that, Bethany. I think people need to realize that they've always made decisions for themselves in the way in which they've participated in their medical care, in their social life, in their personal goals. And you should see that although this is a seemingly inescapable condition, it is escapable, but it's through compassion, love, curiosity, and authenticity. This isn't take this and apply it and you'll be fine. This is something you actually have to practice being present with and feeling in the moment and responding to spontaneously. And that is all taught through movement and through the body, because you realize you don't need to explain everything. You don't need words. All you need to do is feel something in your own body that changes. And I think asking that question of what does getting better mean to you, I think you may be able to sense, if you sit with that question without even having to find a definitive answer, you'll notice that feelings come up in your body that redirect your decision making, that redirect your tolerance levels in certain places. But movement grows our tolerance for adaptation. And when the body and nervous system feel safe, then in these new moments that seem the same as old, like you're running into the same family members or you're seeing the same friends, and a month ago that didn't feel so good. When you start answering the question, what does getting better mean to you? I think that your body speaks even louder in those moments, and it says, this is what it means. It means hanging with these people. This is meaningful. And that's a huge reflection of recovery, that you can tolerate a social scene, even if it's with the people closest to you. There's a billion routes you can go down, but I just encourage people to find their own.
Thank you. And I love that you brought that. I was actually we're so on the same page here. So I was just about to say, as we're talking about being more than just a physical body, we're that we have that internal piece of us, the cognitive, the spiritual, like all of that. And I think that expands outside of our body into those social connections. And those are key for healing. And you mentioned that, waking up and seeing your parents, that was so important for you and your body's internal sense of safety. Can we speak to that, the social dynamic and co-regulation and all of that for a second?
Are you kidding? I'd love to. So this is the best part, is that healing is free.
Mm-hmm.
Recovery is free. And on that note, anyone who wants to come to my free Monday class, please come, because that is actually a place where, I just chop it up with people. We have about 150 signups to date, and we get anywhere from like 10 to 20 people. It's nice sometimes also when it's 5 and we get deeper chats, but come on Monday, awesome. Come to the website and check it out. You're invited. But social connection, and that's why class came to mind, is a massive, if not the precursor to recovery as well. Mm-hmm. Movement is a place where we learn how to recover kind of on our own. That's what I want to say. But the movement takes us towards more adaptability and availability in social settings. It lets us actually get there. We can now walk, let's say, right? So why are social settings and why is socializing so crucial for recovery? And it doesn't mean partying. It just means maybe having a phone call conversation, maybe having a correspondence with someone, maybe listening to Bethany's and the Concussion Coach's podcast. But this is where our nervous system and social relationship, it learns how to relate again. It learns how to not overreact. It learns how to take in tones and prosodies and intonations from one another's voices and bodily tension. That means we're safe. And we don't have to fight or protect against this person and maybe the next person we won't have to, and the one after that. So socializing is crucial because we are social mammals, you and I, as human beings. And our nervous system has developed and adapted in its own function based on the ways in which we have socialized over time. So I'm going to make it clear on this idea. Once upon a time, all our nervous system could do was shut down and dissociate in the face of threat from another predator. And then it started to develop the ability to run away. Our nervous system, it could pull the body away and run from the threat of the predator. And then it said, okay, that takes a lot of energy. Maybe I can beat this thing. It realized this is millions and millions of years. And it goes, I'll fight it. And that's our fight state, right? In our nervous system. And then it said, how are we going to be most energy efficient? That's what our body's always searching for. And if you can answer that question, you're going to have an easier time recovering. The nervous system goes collaboration, connection, shared experience, trust. And the more that we do that, the more we give the green light to our nervous system and our brain to continually recover. So when you look at the photos of your friends, your kids, your dogs, your cats, animal, whatever, that feeling in your body of connection is called serotonin. And there's many other things happening simultaneously because the body is always everything at once, pretty much. But that serotonin is a hormone that supports recovery so much. And it's something that is produced through the music program I provide, big time clinical evidence, and the movement program from Foundation Training as well.
Cool. Thank you. Yes. And that connection, healing does happen in connection. I am so interested too in having you explain a little bit more about the music, because I think people hear that and are like, what are you talking about? So explain more.
I think I owe you an explanation. The music program. So there's a few that were developed by Dr. Porges, who invented polyvagal theory. And polyvagal theory is a beautiful nervous system framework for understanding what is happening at this time. And I provide a polyvagal education and have worked closely with a lot of different polyvagal practitioners as well. It's a beautiful space of, coming to your nervous system without judgment and the compassion that it needs to adapt. And so The music program from Dr. Porges and Polyvagal theory, the main one is called the Safe and Sound Protocol. And the Safe and Sound Protocol is a 5-hour listening therapy just through over-the-ear headphones like you're wearing, Bethany, and your cellular device. And you listen to 5 hours of treated music. And it's clinically proven treated music to help reduce symptoms of trauma, anxiety, and depression. Those are the biggest three. I've used it with nearly 100 people today. And of course, we break down the sessions into digestible amounts for your nervous system. Otherwise, it's going to overwhelm it. That's like could be anywhere from 5 minutes to 30-minute listening sessions. But this 5-hour protocol, it changes the way in which you are capable of socializing with people. That's actually the biggest proof. It changes, and yeah, go ahead, please interrupt me.
How does it do that?
How does it interrupt me whenever, please? It's great mediating. How does the SSP, the Safe and Sound Protocol, actually enhance the way that we're able to socialize with people? And now we know how important socializing is. Well, the SSP changes the way in which our auditory and autonomic nervous system are functioning. So it changes the way our ears are working, and it changes the way that our nervous system is actually speaking to our brain. So through the 5 hours, our nervous system is receiving, as I said, a variety of middle range frequencies, the same ones that you and I are speaking with now, that allow us to stay present, reach into the past ideas, future ideas, creative ideas, and scientific ideas. And ultimately, the middle range frequencies that are giving us that ability in the body, in our own body again. So by listening through these 5 hours, our inner ear muscles are becoming more tensioned to pick up on middle range frequencies in our social interactions, rather than focusing on the high range and low range frequencies that it has become completely biased to notice because of the traumatic experience itself. So this is how our nervous system functions at a ground level when we've experienced trauma or too much threat in any kind of way to the body. Our ears become like satellites, and they want to figure out where is the next harm coming from. This music is teaching that those parts of your nervous system that they don't have to work so hard, and we rather use that energy that they're really using out of good faith for whole body function, not just super sensitive ears and eyes and so much.
That's so fascinating. So has that been helpful for people who have that like hyperacusis? Is that how you say it? Or like really like noise sensitive? Huge. Yeah,
I've worked with people who have, in the first 15 minutes of listening to this music, broke down in tears, and they know that that's a moment to pause. It's a big emotional shift. And it doesn't happen often that there's an emotional reaction like that, but I'm talking about the most significant kind of moments where this person paused the music and said, you know, Gil, I'm crying because I'm so happy. I can feel the right side of my face and neck, and I'm not touching it. And it's the first time I can feel it without touching it in 4 to 5 years. And so the body does all different kinds of things. When it comes to sensitivity, that's from our nervous system. If there's a mechanical issue in the eye, ear, other sensory apparatus, then we know that there's sensitivity in the nervous system. Yeah. If there's a mechanical, I'll say it a little bit more clear. If there's a mechanical issue in any of your senses, then sometimes the mechanical issue can be isolated, and that's the thing that needs to be taken care of. But when it's not just a mechanical issue, when it's come from trauma, but everything on scans and blood works and CTs and everything, MRIs seem fine, like I did, can still be it's likely there's tons of dysregulation and sensitivity in the nervous system. So the music activates the vagus nerve, and it tells the body directly it's safe enough to recover today. It's safe enough. And the body loves that info because it's energy efficient, and it holds on to that memory. It says that should replace the one of survival, but it isn't until that safety outweighs the threat, which is immeasurable. That's a felt sense experience, something that only each individual can feel. Do we feel that readiness to go out, to move more, to live, to connect. Yeah.
Awesome. That's amazing. And so, yeah, thank you. It's so unique. This is not something that there's not a lot of people out there doing this that
That's for that. I know there's no one providing foundation training and SSB music together. That's for sure.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. And I love that you bring in the meaning piece as well, because that is like, it's all of it. Each of those individually are so, I could see them being crucial and so important in helping us to feel safe in our nervous system and like helping that when we feel safe, that's when the healing and the recovery can happen. So just, yeah, all of that. And then the combination is so cool. So I thank you. I maybe we could do this again sometime. We can dive deeper into some of these individual things, but I love this overview. It's really cool.
It is tough like that. It's hard to keep it all simple, but I'm working on it. So send a meeting link for anyone else too. If you just want the simple version, I'll try and pass it on.
It's so good. Well, how can people, if people are interested, where should they go to find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check out goodmoodmethod.ca. And you'll find a ton of information there, free ebooks and links for free class, my meeting link, and you can choose your favorite time in my calendar, and we can sift this stuff together, get an understanding and grounding in all of this. But you can also find me on Instagram at the same name, Good Mood Method.
Perfect.
And through there, send me a message, say hello. Yeah.
Awesome. And we'll put those in the show notes as well. So that's excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here. This was an uplifting conversation. I think that a lot of important things were said. I hope that people feel the goodness from it.
Thank you so much for having me, Bethany, and thank you for listening.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad you listened in today. I hope you have gained some helpful insights and inspiration regarding dealing with and recovering from concussions. My goal is to create more awareness and education about concussions and the fact that there is so much that can be done to improve life after someone has had one. Help me spread the message by liking, commenting, rating, and subscribing to this podcast, and share it with others who would benefit from hearing it. There are more resources available on my website. And again, if you or someone you love would benefit from concussion coaching, sign up for a free consultation using the link in the show notes or at my website, www.theconcussioncoach.com. Thank you. See you next time, and take good care of that amazing brain of yours.